Hi, Philip Hoffmeyer here from TopspinPro. Now, a couple of weeks ago, I posted about my 21-day challenge to completely remodel my backhand. And Reidy offered to give me some help, and he posted a video on YouTube, slightly embarrassingly, with me side by side with Novak Djokovic. He flipped Novak to be left-handed, and he gave me a bunch of great tips. And it's a couple of weeks have gone by, but I've been working on it every single day. And today I just wanted to talk a bit about the things I've been doing and how they've been working. The first sort of week or so, I really didn't go on court to work on it. It was literally with the TopspinPro and working on the mechanics that Ryan had identified and keeping it simple. The nice thing about that also is if you're not on court, you can't think about outcome. So you end up literally focusing on the feeling and what you can see and not where the ball goes. So it really is helpful in that regard. So the things, to get back to what Ryan talked about, Ryan's teaching, you often, one of the fundamental things he points out is mechanics. The great mechanics start with the right grip. The correct stroke starts with the right grip. So he always starts with the grip. And my grip was very much a single-handed backhand grip in a double-handed shot. So he corrected that to the continental grip, that chopper grip. So to get that to work correctly in the beginning, what I did was I started in the ready position with the forehand grip, and then I would change to the right grip and make sure I didn't overcorrect to my old backhand grip. Change to that grip and just look at it and check that it was straight, it was that chopper grip. And that worked quite well. And then what I'd try and do is I'd close my eyes and see if I could still get it to the right place. So that helped make that experience a bit more automatic. And I was checking that I was doing it by feel, not by seeing what I was doing. And once I got the hang of that, or done that little, got the grip right, I started to work on the next part of the stroke. And the next part, Ryan likes to sort of get your elbows out, pretend you've got a tennis ball under each arm. So you change the grip, slide the hand down, keeping those elbows out, and then he moves around into the backhand position like that. So this was the next bit, is to get into that position with the racket back. It looks a bit like that over there. You got the chin, your shoulder under your chin. This arm is pretty straight. The same angle down is repeated with the racket going up like that. And again, you want a bit of space between your elbow there. And so I would work on, I'd start in that position actually. I would stand there and just check that it all looked right. And you can see, you get this out of the way because it's obscuring things a bit. Yeah, you'd stand there like this, and is the racket, can you see, is the racket vertical? Not like that, not like that. Is my arm straight down the line? And just checking that. And in fact, what really helped was doing this in front of a mirror. That allowed me to see exactly what I was doing. So doing that, getting the second hand on, straight arm, chin above the shoulder, just holding that position, just to feel what it was like. And I'd swing through just to get the feel of the stroke, but then I'd go back, start in that position, change the grip, slide the hand down, get across into that position, check that it was right. And it's a slow process. You've got to just let the body feel what those new positions are like, because if you remember from the video, my take back on my backhand was down here. So instead of going high, I was going low. Instead of this position where you'll see Djokovic, I was down here. So that was quite a big change for me, getting used to that that part, that take back being in the right at the right height. So once I got comfortable with that, I would start to swing through. So I'd be there, I'd check that elbow was out, and then I'd swing through over my shoulder. Now, this is where another thing that Ryan pointed out where I was different from Novak, thank you Ryan, in that Novak would, the momentum of the shot would swing his hips around, so they'd naturally flow around. I was keeping my back leg sort of tucked behind me, and this was inhibiting my hip rotation, and as a result inhibiting the power I could generate. So I tried to get the feel of swinging through. I should actually be using the TopspinPro because that's what I used then, but I'm not sure what it looks like looks like it'll work from this side. Let's see. So I was there, and then I would swing through, hit the ball, and then naturally let my right leg come around. And this is it's a common problem with a lot of players, is that they see people doing that, or the coach will tell them to do that, and they will swing and bring the leg around at the same time. But it's got to be a natural function of your weight moving forward, and as that happens, this leg swings round. It can't be swing round and then hit. You've got to get the order right. You can't actively force the right side around. It's got to be a natural flow as a result of your swing. But what I was doing, I was actually locking my hips out of the shot by keeping that back leg stuck behind me. So by letting it flow round a bit on my toe and then naturally open up like this after the shot, has made my swing a lot more like Novak's, and allowed me to swing through the ball more down the sort of channel towards the target. The other thing that Ryan pointed out was my follow through. So he refers to it as casting, which is like, I suppose, when you're fishing, so just sort of flinging the racket across like that. In some ways, I suppose a Federer-esque single-handed finish. And he pointed out to me that you find that your Novak doesn't release as much. The racket flows down the channel more. The V that Ryan talks about is this little shape here. Instead of this side of the hand, it's that side. And so after coming around, I was trying to think of keeping, you can see the racket behind my head here, and it's on this side of my hand. It's not gone there. And so I was working on that. There's a lot of parts to the stroke, and what I was doing was every time I walked past the TopspinPro, which was set up in the hallway, just slightly, you need a big hallway or a tolerant family. Luckily, I've got both. So I'd stand in the mirror in the hallway, I'd get everything right like that, and then I would just, get my feet, my shoulders right, and then swing through. Oh, my leg was a bit late there. But I would do it in a very deliberate and slow way to really feel it. And it's only once I'd got comfortable with each segment that I started to piece it together. And even after I'd pieced it together, I would do it quite slowly, and then I would slowly but surely speed it up. And so it's been, I think we're just over 2 weeks into the process. I've already done some live, some basic ball feeds and used the new shot. It really feels a lot better. But I know ultimately the real test is going to be next week, because I think I finished my 21-day challenge in a few days' time. And then I'll have to do a video and do it then side by side compared to my backhand before. And in fact, the real test is, am I using my new backhand when I'm playing a match? So it's a bit easier, a little bit less pressure doing it with the ball machine when I'll be using the Slinger bag. But that ultimately will be the test of whether or not I've succeeded in changing the stroke if I play it in a match. But we're going to do it on the Slinger bag. And so I'm really looking forward to that. So this week I've started to do more and more difficult feeds on the Slinger bag. So in the beginning it was the easy ones quite close to me, just popping the ball up. And I'm making it more and more difficult. But really the first sort of 10 days was very deliberate work on the TopspinPro, checking my progressions first, the grip change with my eyes closed, and then also the take back. I even did that actually with my eyes closed, and then I would check, is my racket vertical? Then once I was that position, I would swing through and check. I'd allow my hip to come through, but make sure it didn't come through too soon. And of course, and then the last bit was that follow. It's hard to do this video back to front, but making sure that follow through had the racket head on that side of my body, that it hadn't crossed over with that sort of fling. Because when you do that, you've got your racket traveling towards the ball and back this way, and it only leaves really one point on the arc where your swing is going to work. Whereas the Novak style backhand is very much down this channel and results in much more consistent strokes. And one thing I've noticed also is I'm getting a lot more power, and I think that's because with the high take back, the racket's got to travel much further than it had to before with the same motion. So before, I'd take the racket back to here, I'd stop, and then I'd swing. But with that, firstly with that constant motion, and the fact that it's going through the same loop, but with the same sort of hand mechanics, the racket head travels much further and therefore has to travel much faster to get to the contact point. And so it's been a fascinating experience, but obviously we still have another, about a week to go, and at that point we can look back and go, okay, we succeeded, and you'll have to be the judge.